I'm Haley.
I'm John.
And I'm Will.
And we're from Crimson Comet, a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network.
Just like the one you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of the individual host.
Check out other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. And get ready, because geekiness begins in
3,
2,
1.
You have been granted clearance by Director Phil Coulson. Stand by for S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. Director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Agent Stargate Pioneer.
And I'm Agent Lauren.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast number 57, covering the 2005 movie Elektra. This podcast was recorded on Thursday, January 22nd, 2015. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fan-based podcast on the ABC television show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the general Marvel comic universe.
Because of living tattoos and death kisses.
If you'd like to talk to us about all that stuff,
well, you can contact us at legendsofshield.com or our voicemail 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871. You can also contact us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr, all at Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., our YouTube, Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., or our forums, forums.gonnageek.com, or search Gonna Geek, all one word, on the Tapatalk app.
And also on the website, you can now find the first 13 podcasts of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes, for those of you new to the show, you have not heard the first 13 podcasts. There's a reason for that. They are a very, very different show. Not bad, mind you, but they are definitely explicit. It is Wing, an operator, and Beef from the Legends podcast, and I mistakenly kind of deleted them from the feed on Libsyn, but I was able to post them on a storage site, and they are now streamable and downloadable. If you go to the posts on the website, legendsofshield.com, you go to the first 13 podcast posts, and you can find the links, and you can either click on the titles, or you can copy and paste the links, and you can find them. So they are all yours. Now, just have to warn you, they are explicit. So if you're expecting a non-explicit cast, you're not going to find it. But they are hilarious. They are the reason why I started to watch Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. They are the reason that I'm podcasting on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. So that's cool, right?
Yeah, I'm actually going to have to go back and listen to them because I have never listened to them before.
Yes, they are shorter casts. They are very different. They're not in the format that we have now. So just fair warning, they're not what we have now. But you can go back and listen. It's awesome. So it's a tip of the hat to Op Beef and Wing for starting the cast. Thank you, guys. But this week, we're going to talk a little less Peggy Mother Beepin' Carter and a little bit more hot Jennifer Gardner.
Yeah. I don't really get all the Jennifer Garner love, but then again, I never watched Alias. The
No.
Alias for me is the comics with Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I keep hearing, at some point you should watch Alias, and I'm like, okay, yeah, at some point I will, but I never have. And I know that apparently she filmed this movie during like a season break. And Goran, whose last name I can never pronounce, starts with the V.
I was going to ask you.
I keep wanting to say like Vicinijic,
Nick.
but he was on ER at the time, which I loved because I was at a health and science high school, and at the time I was pre-vet and I was still all like, yay, health stuff. And I was just obsessed with ER. So yeah, he also filmed this on a break from the show. And he's in this.
Yep, he is. Do you know where it was filmed? It seemed a little bit Vancouver-ish to me.
It has to be Canada because I recognized a bunch of the bit part actors. In fact, I wanted to bring these two guys up specifically.
Let me guess. Hiro, I can't even pronounce his last name, Kanagawa?
Yeah, Kanagawa.
Oh, wow, I got close.
Yeah, he is on Caprica. He was on, just basically name the TV show filmed in Canada. He's been on at least one episode.
Yeah.
And the guy that played
Colin Cunningham. McCabe.
Yes, McCabe. Yeah, Major Davis.
Yeah, he's also on Falling Skies, which
He's
I
also
knew.
on Falling Skies.
Yeah.
But I will always and forever know him as Major Davis from Stargate SG-1.
Yes.
Which you should know him from Stargate SG-1 too. Stargate Pioneer.
Yeah, just a little bit, but he's had a bigger role on Falling Skies, so that's why I know him from Falling Skies.
I only ever watched like 4 episodes of Falling Skies, and I was just like, it just did not click for me.
I know, I can get that. The first season, maybe 2 are pretty good, but after that, way over. Adam in the chat just said, way overdue for a promotion, Davis. Yeah.
Yeah, Davis was cool though. I liked Major Davis.
And there's also Terrence Stamp.
Yeah, Terrence Stamp. This had a decent cast. Like, I was looking at the cast list, and there's Terrence Stamp, he's General Zod. He's Chancellor Valorum. He's in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. He's in just everything.
He is.
Yeah.
This was a good cast. Okay. Initial impression. Yeah, go ahead.
Jason Isaacs in the very beginning of the movie. He's uncredited, but he's the guy doing like the monologue that she ends up killing at the very beginning of the movie. It's Jason Isaacs.
Right. So it was a good cast. It had a lot of great actors in it. For my first impression, I went into it because everybody's like, oh, it's a terrible movie. I was like, okay, this is a popcorn movie for me. We'll just see. It was a day off on Monday. I put the DVD and I was watching it. I was like, this ain't that bad. It's not that bad of a movie. I enjoyed it. It was a good popcorn flick.
Yeah, watching it again, I have not seen this movie since it came out on video. I didn't go see it in theaters. One of my roommates at the time did, and I remember her telling me about the plot. And I had been so excited when this movie came out because I was like, finally, we're getting a female superhero movie. And I remember the commercials so vividly, and she's telling me about the movie, and I'm like, I don't know if it's your description or if it's the movie itself, but this sounds like the most inane thing. And then I ended up watching the movie. A friend of mine bought the DVD, one of my other roommates at the time, and we watched it. I remember not liking it very much, and I hadn't seen it since then. And I'm watching it today, and I'm thinking, it's not that it's a terrible movie. I've seen way worse movies. My problem is with this movie that I like bad movies that are so bad that they loop around again to being kind of great. This one is just kind of slow.
It is. There's a lot of slow, emotional cutscenes, and I do have some beefs with the movie. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There were some things I'm like, huh?
To me, it just never lived up to its potential, and they tried to make it... I don't know. I didn't really connect with the whole like weird mysticism in it because there hadn't really been anything like that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before. And I'm not sure if this was the right movie to do that with.
Yeah. Okay. So there's various different things that I had wrong with the movie as well. Okay. The narration to start. If you're coming from Daredevil and then you see this movie, it's in a completely different universe, right? And they try to set it up by talking about the hand, the treasure, and the war between everybody. Was that enough setup? No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't, because the whole time I remember how confused I was about this whole treasure thing. Like, I don't know what's going on with this treasure. Like, well, first of all, it's kind of a stupid name. The Treasure. Just say The Chosen One and get over with. I don't like The Chosen One either, but it sounds less pretentious.
Yeah. I was just reminded in the chat, I have to talk about Wing and Haley, who wanted to be with us. Now, Haley's sick, and that's why she's not with us. So we had to bump the podcast back a day, and then she is now, I think, hopefully recording Crimson Comet, and then Wing is recording his podcast, the Legends podcast. So we are wingless, we are Haley-less this week.
And it's also partially my fault because I did not rewatch Elektra until this afternoon. But I finally finished Dragon Age Inquisition, y'all.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So yeah. Speaking of chosen ones.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt there, but they wanted to be here. They just couldn't. So at the beginning, though, Elektra takes out the entire defense force, as you were talking about before. But then she has, I don't know what, it was like a Gattaca DNA moment. Like she's like scrubbing her DNA away or something. I'm like, really?
I vaguely remembered that. And then I'm watching this and I'm trying to figure out, they try to make it a thing with her being obsessive compulsive.
Oh, is that what that was?
That was what that was.
So
and I was trying to figure out, is there like a reason for this? And I guess the only reason for it was to like forge a connection between her and the girl.
Yeah, I guess.
And I thought it was kind of contrived. I mean, just keep it at, I don't want my DNA to be found, and there's really no other reason for it. Although I do like how they made it. Okay, most of the time when you see like obsessive compulsive stuff in movies or TV, it's like comical. It's just so comically over the top, like Monk. This was a little bit more on the level of how it actually is. I get obsessive tics when I get really stressed. I'll have like a thing with the number 5. I'll have things have to be like in order by color, things like that. And that's kind of more along the lines of how certain aspects of obsessive compulsive disorder is.
Well, I picked up the OCD when she started counting. I got to admit, I did not pick it up when she was talking about her DNA. I thought that was straight out of Gattaca or whatever. But then when she got into her new place, I forget what it was, the Michael's place or whatever, when she got into it and then she was arranging the fruit, I thought, she could be doing that to make sure that nobody's messing with her stuff, that comes in and checks out the place when she's not there or whatever.
I guess in retrospect, I can kind of see that being like a benefit to her line of work.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. So it was so intertwined that I didn't notice it until she started counting. I was like, what is up with that?
Okay, I'm a bit more forgiving of that now with that perspective. But when I first saw it, I was just like, why is this a thing? And when I saw it today, I was like, okay, so it's only there to forge a connection between her and this girl. But seeing it, like, I guess from that perspective of it is a benefit to her line of work. When I have joked about that before, like, oh, it's a good thing that I have this thing with numbers because it means that I mess up less when I work.
Yeah. Okay, we got to talk about the Linda Hamilton, Stephen Amell moment where she's doing one-hand mother-fracking pull-ups.
If I tried to do that, I would wrench my arms out of my socket. So I am impressed.
Yeah, not to mention the little fingers, because she's only holding on with, 2 fingers or whatever?
Yeah.
So that
something nuts like that. Just like, wow, I am impressed.
I could not find anything to equate it to exactly, but the only thing I could think of is Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2 or Stephen Amell when he's doing his freaking salmon ladder. It's like, oh, that's cool.
By the way, is there anything less impressive a term than salmon ladder? It sounds like a dish at a restaurant.
It's like a slab of meat, yeah.
But it looks way better, yes, like a slab of meat.
Yeah.
Let's ogle him like a slab of meat.
I don't know if it's going to be this summer or next summer, but I am going to actually construct a salmon ladder. We've been talking about it at the Starling Tribune for quite a while in my garage or in my backyard or whatever, and I'm going to do it. I'm definitely going to do it.
Do it for my crappy little horrible shoulders. Do it for, I will never be able to do that.
I might do it shirtless. And I'll tell you what, if Jennifer Gardner would have done it shirtless, this would have been a whole different movie, but that would have been great too.
Well, apparently it was originally a rated R cut, but for contractual reasons, I want to say they had to cut it back down to PG-13. Or I might be confusing that with Mortal Kombat. I don't know.
I forgot I put this note in my notes. It's like, what's with all the Rain Men counting? I just seriously was not picking up on the OCD until much later in the movie.
I'm very sorry if I start to get this confused with Mortal Kombat halfway through. While I was working today, I was listening to a podcast where some people were talking about the movie Mortal Kombat. So I think I might start getting some of the trivia confused in my head. But I want to say that there was originally a rated R cut, but that they had to tone down the violence or something. Speaking of which, whenever, and I know this is jumping way ahead towards the end, but do you notice that how, I guess, they get rid of all the violence and stuff is whenever they stab somebody, they just kind of poof into smoke?
I know. I was writing that down. Okay, I loved all the colored glasses with death, and Star Wars should have had more of that.
No.
Oh, really? Like Obi-Wan poof? You didn't like that? You don't like that idea? Come on.
I think it was cheesy as hell. I did not like it.
I also thought of all the gaseous things that have been going on in the DC shows this past fall, with the gas villains and stuff. Anyway.
And that reminds me of listening to something about Dreamcatcher today because of farting.
Yeah, there you go. It's big fart villains. That's all it is. Fart villains. Yeah. But talking about Mortal Kombat, you know what? I've not seen that movie, or don't remember it.
It's totally one of my guilty pleasure movies.
Oh, why not?
It's so bad, though.
I don't know what it is, but I guess it's the whole genre of this movie or whatever. But when she cranks out that high-tech crossbow, I'm like,
okay, yeah.
Ooh, well, nice.
It wasn't a crossbow. It's a compound bow.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there's a difference.
There is a difference. You're absolutely right.
That bow was cool. I like that bow.
Yep. It was awesome, but we only really see it once.
No, yeah, we only see it in that one scene, and it's kind of a waste of an awesome bow.
It is. It was red, just like her. It was good.
Okay, speaking of weapons, I want to call BS on something that she says. When that girl, Abby, is looking at the size, and she's like, oh, I want to learn how to defend myself. And she's like, these weapons are not for defense. Originally, size were a defensive weapon because they are there so that you can hook other weapons and disarm people with them.
Okay, well, BS, Elektra.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there's talking about BS.
They're there. I mean, yes, you could stab people with them, but they're there so that you can take people's weapons away from them.
Yeah, and you can stab them in multiple places, too. It is kind of offensive when you think of it in terms of that.
No, it is offensive, but they are also defensive weapons.
Yeah, all right.
Because if you go back and you look at the history of size, especially, I want to say they date back to a period in Japanese history when peasants weren't supposed to own weapons. So these were designed to look kind of like pitchforks and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, they do.
Yeah, so that you could say like, oh, no, these are for this purpose so that, yeah, it could totally slip by this ban.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, jumping ahead a little bit, when they drive up to the farm, McCabe definitely knew he was a goner from the moment they drew up.
Pretty much. Major Davis.
Yeah.
No.
There's only so far blood money will take you. Because that's what he was setting up assassinations.
Well, yeah.
He had to know it was going to end.
It's a dangerous business. You know it can't last very long.
And tattoo animals, very cool and very terrifying.
That was cool. I remember that so clearly from the commercials. And that and the bright colors were two of the things that made me want to see the movie.
Yeah, well, the CGI on that was great. But, I mean, this is the concept. I haven't seen that concept.
Especially for 2005.
Yeah, it was pretty good. That concept I have not seen. It might be around before. I haven't seen everything, but it was new to me. It was pretty cool. And I have to say, I'm sorry. The cast was also delayed for additional reason. I have been spending a lot of time digging a tunnel out through my backyard.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I could do that.
Because every house should have a tunnel running out to the field behind your house.
I cannot argue with that.
I think it's a good idea.
You know, when I was little, I wanted to live in a hole in the ground. Just out of nowhere.
Okay. This is going to be...
Okay.
This is going to sound a little weird, right? Okay. So... I had two younger sisters growing up, and one of them was a couple years younger than me. I was the oldest. My sister, that's a couple years younger than me, was a huge Little House on the Prairie fan. Right? Okay.
Yeah,
and this is no secret. I grew up in Minnesota, which that's where Little House on the Prairie started, was Walnut Grove, Minnesota, right? Mm-hmm. If you've ever read those books, you know that, Adam said, not making a Hobbit joke. Yeah, right.
No, I know. The jokes write themselves.
Right. But the Ingalls family started out in a dugout, and I've actually seen the depression in the ground that was the dugout of the Ingalls family in Walnut Grove, Minnesota.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I did read the first couple of those when I was little. My cousin was really into those, my older cousin. Well, one of my older cousins. I have a whole lot of cousins. But yeah, I was really into those because... I don't know. I had this like weird thing where I was like convinced that ninjas were going to kill my family. And
well, who doesn't really?
Yeah, I was okay. Did you ever read this book called From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler? The author of them just died like this past year. No. Okay, well, it's a great book, and it's about these two kids who run away in New York, and they live in the Museum of Natural History there.
Kind of like The Night at the Museum.
Except nothing comes to life, yeah.
Aww,
but
bummer.
It's a good book. It's a great book. But I read that when I was little, so I had this plan where I needed to get used to living out in the wilderness because if ninjas ever killed my family like they were inevitably going to do, I needed to live out in the wilderness and learn to live in holes and stuff like that and learn to like live off the land until I could like walk to Corpus, which was the nearest big city, and live in the mall.
Well, and what kid does not want to live in the mall, especially when they had arcades back then, right? And probably, what was that, toys? It was like a K store, right? That had toys.
KB Toys.
KB Toys, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It was awesome. It was every kid's dream.
Yeah, I had it all planned out in case ninjas killed my family. Much like ninjas killed Elektra's mom and Abby's mom.
And ninjas, by the way, terrible costumes. If you're
Terrible.
If you're supposed to be a ninja, you're supposed to be unrecognizable, but everybody knows what a ninja looks like.
Yeah. And again, bad history. Ninjas, in all actualities, if they were wearing the outfits like this, would wear actually like dark blue because it's a lot easier to blend into the background than like pure black or, as they are in this movie, like all these weird colors.
Yeah, like I'm watching the last big battle scene, right? And all these bad ninjas are jumping over the white fences or railings or whatever. I'm like, yeah, you could clearly see them.
And also ninjas basically just kind of dress to blend in, whether that's dressing like a janitor or a cook or whatever. Because if you see somebody dressed like a ninja, you're going to be like, oh, hey, that's a ninja.
Yeah, I'm dead. Because there's nothing you can do about it.
So, bad planning, ninjas. Very bad planning. And by the way, there's a card game called Ninja Burger. If you ever get the chance to play it, it's fantastic. There's this one disguise. No, sadly, you are a ninja who works for a burger company who has to deliver burgers. And you can have disguises because true ninjas wear disguises. And one of them is the ninja t-shirt. And you can tell that you are not a ninja while you're wearing this t-shirt because it's white. And if I was truly a ninja, it would be a black t-shirt, wouldn't it?
You would think. Although the good guys were white ninjas in this one, though.
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Ninjas.
Talking about ninjas, Elektra's got some moves, right? She uses, I don't know if they were meant for this or not, but she uses throwing stars to embed onto the tree as footholds as she's running up the tree. That was awesome.
That was cool.
The action in this, I mean, obviously it's not the actors. It is so obvious. I'm actually looking at this going, is Abby really doing this? Is Elektra really? No.
Oh, no.
It's not.
It's stunt people and it's wire foo.
It is, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's
got that
it's fun action.
Post-Matrix thing, like when she was evading
the bullet time.
Yeah.
She does some bullet time. There is bullet time in this.
When she was evading
They're bullets.
What kind of gun?
They are bullets.
It was a bullet in that little arrow gun?
Oh, I don't know what kind of gun it was, but they look like bullets to me. Yeah.
All right, fine. Okay, being the dad of a kid superhero sucks, right? Because your wife gets killed, you can't fight, you don't have any skills, you are just the perpetual liability.
But he's the doctor from ER. He needs to have some skills. He was also Spartacus in a made-for-TV movie version of Spartacus.
You know what his superpower was? His wife, the mom
Puppy
of his
eyes.
kid, just dies, and he just slips right in there with Elektra.
I was going to say puppy eyes.
What's the mourning period for superhero parents in the comic book world?
Like 3 issues.
3 issues.
If that.
Okay, so what's the, are we talking hours, days, weeks? I don't know what an issue is.
I don't know. It depends on the writer, really.
Okay, so normally an issue comes out, what, once a month or once
a month, but once a month, but an arc could be like a day or a year.
Right.
It really does depend on the writer.
Right, but in human terms, 3 issues is 3 months, so that's what the mourning period is.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
All right. What's with Elektra and Blind Guys?
Everybody's got a type.
Between Stick and Daredevil?
And Stick is actually supposed to be Daredevil's mentor. Elektra had, as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, audience, because I am far from the Elektra Daredevil expert here.
Yeah, I am not one.
But as far as I know, Elektra had like no real contact with Stick in the comics.
Probably something that's very wrong with the movie, but not knowing anything about the comics, it seemed to work. I don't know.
Although Elektra was, I believe, brought back to life by the Hand.
Oh, the bad guys instead of the good guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's Elektra's whole issue in the comics is she's never really completely a bad guy. She's never really completely a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while there, she was like a Skrull, so...
Well, she did wake up in the camp, wherever that camp was, with the braid of justice. You know, the long braid... Anyway.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, I've got written down my notes. Woohoo! Chick fight, Treasure and Elektra. Not as good as May and Agent 33, but entertaining nonetheless.
Oh, no, because Abby is 13 years old.
She had some skills, though. She had the little whip going for her, too, until it poofed into the fart cloud. Oh, and then the dream negotiation. Can I make conference calls like that? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, Elektra's like random psychic powers was another point of contention for me in the movie. It's like, oh, being brought back to life makes her somehow like psychic 3 seconds into the future and able to talk with this guy in dreams.
Yeah.
Seriously, like, the mysticism in this movie just never panned out for me. Just give me ninjas. Just give me flat out ninjas.
So you're having a nightmare and then you go into a conference call? That would be kind of scary. Or I guess anything in my head would be scary in a conference call.
Oh, see, I think everybody else would be massively entertained by my nightmares, because one of my latest nightmares, and I am not kidding at all, was that the new Star Wars movie involved butter dishes with googly eyes.
What?
Yeah, those were the new aliens in the new Star Wars movies. It was butter dishes with googly eyes, and everyone was like, this is a genius.
Like those little eyes you used to put on those like fuzzy,
googly eyes,
fuzzy
yes.
tops to pens and stuff?
Yes.
In the Star Wars universe.
It was horrifying. I was so upset by this. I am not kidding.
That sounds like something out of Hard Wars. Remember that? Hardware Wars?
Yes, I do remember Hardware Wars, yes. I am going to be having stress dreams and nightmares about the new Star Wars movie for the next year, by the way.
Oh.
This happened when Episode 3 came out. It's going to happen again. But all my nightmares are slightly comical to everybody who's not me, except when they involve, like, people getting their skins ripped off.
Yeah.
So everybody else, this guy could be having conference calls with the googly eye butter dish people, and he's welcome to it.
Okay, so we're going to break a little bit from the movie for a second. And right before we went live on the show, Op had tweeted this great trailer of Star Wars set to the theme and music of the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer. It was awesome. Go to YouTube, check it out. I'll put the link in the show notes. We're not going to talk about it later in the news section, but it was awesome.
It's pretty epic. Like, it's actually amazing, and then it's hilarious.
Vader says something at the end that just had us both rolling. It was awesome.
It's beautiful.
Thank you very much, Op, for posting that on Twitter. We enjoyed that very much. So, okay, back to the movie here. Elektra's vineyard house or whatever.
It's her, like, family manor, I guess, because I was reading the trivia on IMDb, and when she walks out the very end and you see the N on the gate, that stands for Nachios, which is her last name.
Okay.
So it's like her manor.
Well, okay, but she was a kid when this all went down, right?
Yeah, but
so, well, I guess
her family's rich.
Yeah, I was going to say somebody would have bought that, but I guess if it was put in a trust, yeah, all right.
And seriously, like, if you're going into hiding, go someplace that is not yours.
That's true. Well, I think she was
saying.
I think she was intentionally, because she wasn't in hiding. It was after the little dream conference call. She was like, "Okay, we'll settle this, you and me."
Would you really trust them, though?
Well, there is some honor in thieves, right?
Not necessarily.
I know we saw the.
I have read enough stuff and watched enough movies to know. No,
there was definitely a kind of a Cobra vibe with this too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I just have Cobra on my brain. I need to watch Cobra and get it out. So.
Oh, like half the ninja guys were also in, like, the Wolverine, by the way. Like, the guy that she was dream conferencing with was Harada in Wolverine. In the Wolverine, I'm sorry.
Right. We're going to have to watch those movies at some point in time.
Yeah, we do.
But we've got a lot of Netflix stuff coming up, so it's going to cramp our style this summer. All right. So I know we saw it at the very beginning of the movie, but it doesn't really hit you until you get into the great room and she does that disrobe thing and boom, red. It's like, awesome. And the outfit, realistic? No. Functional?
No.
No. But the girl is looking fine.
No, she looks good in it, and it looks enough like the comic to not make people complain. She's just missing, like, the gold hoop earrings and, like, the head wrap.
Oh, I didn't know she had gold hoop earrings.
Yeah, apparently they wanted her to wear them, but she didn't have her ears pierced at the time.
They could have added in post, I guess.
Maybe CGI wasn't that advanced in 2000. We could have Gollum, but we couldn't have CGI gold earrings.
Elektra, we find out something about Elektra. The girl knows how to use a kitchen. Cook me some ninjas. And what's with the room of empty Casper sheets flying around?
I was about to bring this up. I guess in the Roger Ebert review of it, he likened this part. It's supposed to be like this beautiful cinematic thing of them, like, fighting through the sheets, and it's supposed to look like, you know, this beautiful arty thing. But he's like, in reality, it looked more like they're fighting Casper the Friendly Ghost.
I didn't know, even though, you know what else it looks like? It looks like my front-loading washing machine when it's going. And at the end, of course, Elektra uses her newfound superpower to bring treasure back from the dead for her second life. So I guess that's a thing now, too.
Yeah.
Is that, well...
I guess it's like the whole, like, Kiss of R'hllor in Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire. I don't know.
I don't know either. It was a fun movie. It was fun for me. I did enjoy it.
It wasn't as awful as I remember it. It's just slow.
Yeah, at times, yeah. I did load it into my computer and I used there's a program that I can watch it faster. So when I rewatched it to take notes, I definitely did that. So.
Oh, also the director also directed the movie Reign of Fire, which is another one of my favorite bad movies, wherein Academy Award winner Matthew McConaughey.
Was he driving a Lincoln?
No, he jumps into a dragon's mouth while swinging an axe, and it's kind of epic. And also Christian Bale and Gerard Butler reenact Empire Strikes Back, and it kind of won me over for that alone. And it introduced me to one of my favorite bands, Matt at Gravity, which then immediately broke up.
Well, I did enjoy the movie. I'm glad I watched it, and I don't know if I'll watch it again or not. I have seen parts of it, like on Saturday afternoon, flipping through the channels. I have seen a little bit here and there. Like I remember the arrow gun at the beginning. I remember seeing that, which is awesome.
It's another one of those ones that they just occasionally just show on Saturday afternoons on FX.
But I've never sat down and watched the whole thing, so I didn't even know that's what I was watching. So I'm glad I saw it. It was good. I liked it. Will I watch it over and over again like Guardians of the Galaxy or Avengers or whatever? No, but it was fun.
It was a movie. I wish that this was, I think, right around the time when there was some studio that was like, female superhero movies aren't doing well, so we're not going to make any more female-led movies. And it was between this and I think Lara Croft, and there was some other movie.
I liked Tomb Raider.
And it's you don't think that the issue here is that you need better scripts?
Yeah. I like Tomb Raider. I guess I like that. I have not seen Lucy.
Daniel Craig was in Tomb Raider, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. He played the friend, the putty friend. I forgot about that.
I heard somebody mention that the other day.
It was the second one, by the way. I don't think it was the first one.
I guess Gerard Butler was in the first one.
I
know Gerard Butler was in one and Daniel Craig was in the other, but I can never remember which is which.
Another movies I have to watch. I was thinking I'm overdue for a rewatch of the Indiana Jones trilogy, too.
They were showing those on TV the other day.
Yeah, I saw bits and pieces of the fourth one, which I think I
was watching Raiders.
Yeah,
I think on Saturday or Sunday.
Raiders of the Ark, I think, was the first movie. You know how they used to do HBO previews on weekends? Yeah. I think Raiders of the Lost Ark was the first movie I saw on that.
So the first one that I remember seeing, picture tiny, 4-year-old Lauren.
Wait a minute. Tinier than Lauren now?
Tinier than Lauren now.
Wow, that's hard to imagine.
Falling asleep 4 p.m. It's winter. We have our fireplace going. And I wake up and I look up at the TV and tiny Lauren, who's scared of everything, looks up and sees Kalima. And this guy's ripping out somebody's heart, dropping him in lava. I was terrified of watching an Indiana Jones movie for another 5 years after that.
I would be too. That was, I was a lot older when I saw that movie, and it was still, I think I saw it in the theater too. Anyway, do you have anything more to say about Elektra?
It is not as bad as I have been remembering. So if you have a Saturday afternoon to waste, check it out. It has very pretty colors.
It is no Howard the Duck.
That's right. Howard the Duck is weird enough to loop around and be funny again.
Yeah, that's your opinion. That is not my opinion. That is my opinion. I don't think that is Haley's opinion either.
This one is just a movie.
It's a movie. All right. That's it for the movie. So, this week we have a bunch of news. We have news. So the first one was the big announcement that happened a couple of days ago. It was the end of the Marvel comic universe that we've known from 1963.
Sort of.
Okay. So, tell me what you know, Lauren.
All right. So, granted, I've kind of fallen off keeping up as slavishly with comics as they come out as I used to, because I'm you know what? I can pick and choose based on people's reviews, and I will read what I like. So it's worked out pretty well for me so far. And I'm kind of glad, because that means that I have missed things like, Red Onslaught, which I am very glad for.
Okay.
Because I did not like Onslaught in the first place. But anyway, so they announced that they are going to be ending the 616 universe and the Ultimate Universe by smooshing them together. So what this means essentially is, I guess, that they are just going to be kind of picking and choosing which characters they like best and keeping them around and killing off the ones they don't like and just kind of dropping the bits that they don't like. And we're probably not going to have like Superior Iron Man for much longer. And who knows if Falconist Cap will stick around much longer, and Chick Thor, I don't know, she'll be sticking around much longer. Yeah, it is basically Marvel's New 52. Adam in the chat is right. The good news is Miles Morales is going to be sticking around. And other than that, what I personally think is that it's trying to make things more in line with how things currently are in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, since they see how popularly that has been regarded, and they're trying to get people to make the jump from, hey, this movie thing with not a lot of baggage on it, to comics, which has, the 616 universe has, I don't know, like 50 years of baggage on it.
Yeah, 53, I believe.
Something like.
It's 1963 to 2015, so yeah, something like that.
So that's what I think they're doing, is just trying to squish things all together to make it more like that. We'll see. We'll see if it's a good move or a bad move. I haven't really been thrilled in the past couple of years with a lot of the big events that Marvel's been doing, which is why I've been sticking to like a lot of the smaller titles.
Yeah, from the perspective of somebody that really, I'm a sci-fi guy. If you haven't figured that out by now, you should know I'm a sci-fi guy. I was never a comic guy growing up. I did read some I talked about this on the very first episode that we did, Haley, Will, and I, back in episode 14. I read some like Boy Scout comics. I forget what they were, but there was in The Boy's Life. It was a comic strip that ran a couple of pages in the back. That was the extent of my comic book history, and I really never picked it up. No real reason why, other than I was just too busy playing on my Commodore 64, Atari 2600 or whatever. I really don't have an answer for you. But now, getting into comics the last 5 years or so, it's like, okay, where do I start?
No, it's intimidating. It really is, if you don't have someone to kind of guide you through it.
Right. And if it wasn't for just, I elected not to do the Haley thing as much. I'm kind of OCD like Haley is in that aspect, and I want to start from the beginning, and I just want to read through it all. I've done it with the Honorverse. I've done it with a variety of different things. Like I'm looking at DVDs on my desk from Red Dwarf. I'm like, I've seen an episode or two here and there. I just want to start from the beginning. So somebody loaned me their DVD sets, and I've been watching through them. So
no, I was lucky enough that when I started getting back into 616, because previously I'd really only been reading the Ultimate Universe, I had a friend who gave me a stack of comics and it was like, here, I think you'd like these. And from there, I was kind of able to branch out into, okay, from here, I like these characters. I like this. I like this. Where should I start? And he's like, okay, try these. And then I was able to kind of branch out from there on my own.
Right.
But unless you have somebody to do that, it is really intimidating.
It is. And I have now elected, since I'm doing the Starling Tribune podcast, I said, you know what? My son's into Flash. So I started the New 52 Flash. I started the New 52 Arrow. And it's working for me. Have I seen it all? No, but I've been going through it. So from that perspective, from my perspective of not ever been a big comic guy, just seeing the movies and seeing the TV shows over the years, this, while it kind of erases all that history that I would have loved to have gotten into, at least it gives me a starting point where I'm like, okay, now I can get into the stuff that I want to read, like Captain America. I want to read all about Captain America. I love the character. I just want to get into that. Iron Man, want to read all about that. X-Men. I was never an X-Men. I remember in college, there was this roommate that I had who was really big in the X-Men. I'm like, meh. It's just not my thing. Now, I want to listen to all about it. So we'll see. But we'll be interested next week to hear Haley's comment. I believe she input into Gonna Geek when it recorded this week that she will be continuing on her reading because the lore of what has happened will not be swept away. So the tropes of the characters and everything will still be there. So it'll be important to have all that back knowledge as we go forward. So that's, I know I'm simplifying what she said, but that's basically what she said, and she can definitely talk more about it next week. Okay, moving on to the next movie. Do you have anything else to say about that, Lauren, or you good?
About that in particular? No.
Yeah, okay. Moving on to the next news story. What? No Marvel swimsuit issue? What?
Yes. The way it was presented was Chris Anka, who is an artist for Marvel, whose work I like, put a post on his Tumblr that said that he and Kevin Wada, who's a Marvel writer, have been working on a Marvel swimsuit book. And they said that circumstances have arisen that forced us to stop production on the project. The way that this had been reported was Marvel pulls the plug on Marvel swimsuit project. And because the pinups that were posted were all guys, like you could see Gambit pulling off his shirt, and you could see the coloration suggests Kid Apocalypse, but then the like robot hand floating suggests Hellion. And then there's another guy who I'm not entirely sure who it is pulling off like a wetsuit. But it made it sound like, oh, Marvel did it. But then he edited it and said, the sketches I posted were not for an official project to be published by Marvel. They were for an artist sketchbook that Kevin Wada and myself were going to pitch to Marvel, but we decided to pull the plug on this project, not Marvel. We were very proud of our work so far, so we wanted to share what we had done. But yeah, there will be no Marvel swimsuit issue this year, at least. This used to be a thing that Marvel did back in the 90s. You can look and you can find pictures of both Marvel women in skimpy swimsuits and Marvel men in skimpy swimsuits. I mean, if you ever wanted to see Tony Stark in a little skimpy shorts with a big hairy chest, it's out there.
Is there a picture of Groot in a banana hammock?
No.
Oh.
But well, not officially. I'm sure somebody's drawn it. But yeah, this was official art from like 1990, I want to say like 6, that era.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this was a thing that used to be done. I want to say there was one of like the Punisher at the beach too.
Oh, that would have been.
Yeah. I'm going to have to find these after we record and link them to you. I swear this is a thing.
Oh, that's cool.
So it would have been kind of cool to see that kind of resurrected and do another like, equal opportunity. Here's, eye candy for guys, girls, aliens, trees, whatever.
Right. I could see both ways. I could see Marvel not wanting, even if it was pitched to them, not wanting to go forward with it because of all the issues with gender equality or whatever. But at the same time, if you're doing it both ways, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, but again, apparently this was not Marvel's decision. This was the creator's decision to pull the project. But if you want to see some cool sketches of like Gambit pulling off his shirt, yeah, click the link. Chris Anka, he is a very good artist. He's done work for like Uncanny X-Force, All New X-Factor, the most recent Age of Apocalypse spinoff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sleepy Hollow. He's done an issue of Sleepy Hollow.
Okay.
So yeah, he's mostly done like X-Men.
Which would be an interesting swimsuit issue for me to see. So, okay, moving on. You know what? I didn't even want to talk about this because I don't want to talk about it, but Mockingjay officially outgrossed Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014 domestically.
Yeah, it's... Okay, you knew that it was going to be one of these two movies, really. It's either going to be, the fun summer blockbuster or the young adult favorite. And it looks like it was the young adult favorite. But hey, it was a good movie, so I can't really complain. It's not like it was outgrossed by Transformers.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, think of it this way. When Pacific Rim came out, I thought that the really long line was for Pacific Rim, and it was for grown-ups too. So at least it wasn't that situation. It was at least a good movie.
I have not seen... Lauren and I were talking about this before the cast. I have not seen Mockingjay Part 1 yet, and it's just a matter of time, really. It was a really busy holiday season for me, and I'm still catching up. You could think of it one of two ways. Guardians of the Galaxy definitely had more time in 2014 in the theaters. It started in August. Mockingjay was in the busy holiday season, and it was the glitzy movie, so to speak. But I think if you put Guardians of the Galaxy in that later time spot and you put Mockingjay in the earlier time spot, I think Guardians of the Galaxy would have edged out Mockingjay, but that's just me.
I don't know. It's Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, really benefited from being a summer movie. Mockingjay, I don't know if that would have been a good summer movie because this one, it's really bleak.
Yeah.
Like, it is a movie about PTSD and war and propaganda, and Guardians of the Galaxy is about friendship and music and a talking tree, and it's the fun movie. Mockingjay is the one with the already established fan base.
Yeah, it would be interesting to run that experiment. Of course, it'll never happen, but it's just interesting in my mind. So I wanted to see Guardians of the Galaxy win, not because I think Mockingjay is a bad movie. I haven't seen it, but not because I don't like it. It's just I didn't have time. I would have liked to see Guardians of the Galaxy win because it was such a unique movie, and just I think it was fun. I think a lot of people would have liked it. But you know what? We never settled that quarter bet, so we're going to have to get the final Chinese numbers and settle that next week with Wing.
Yeah, we are.
Toss some
I forgot about that.
Canadian quarters over his way. Okay, moving on to the next story. Deadpool starts filming in March.
Yeah, speaking of fun movies, yeah, it is going to be starring Ryan Reynolds. It will be filming in Vancouver. And apparently it will, according to Simon Kinberg, who's producing, tie in with the X-Men universe. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that this means that we're going to get like the convoluted Summers Gray family tree so that we could have Deadberg.
What?
Deadpool and Cable. Where the did that come from?
Deadberg. That's Lauren's new call sign. It's Deadberg.
What the? I don't even know what I was even looking at.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so Deadpool is filming.
Kinberg. I was looking at Simon Kinberg.
So Deadpool is filming. It starts in March. It'll probably be about a 90-day shoot. I'm guessing 90 to 120. So it'll go over the summer. I don't know exactly what. I actually didn't get a chance to read the articles or whatever. But okay. I'm looking forward to this. I like Ryan Reynolds. I like the Deadpool character. So we'll see where that goes. Okay. I saw this on Twitter and I was like, Kristen Stewart wants to be in a Marvel movie. Heck, I want to be in a Marvel movie. No big deal. You just want the paycheck.
Actually, apparently she does like the whole superhero action thing.
Well, why did she choose Marvel versus DC?
Because Marvel has the better track record and has more interesting films.
Did she just want to go with the films?
Plus, Marvel has... I mean, look at Marvel's female characters so far. Black Widow, Maria Hill, we've had Peggy Carter, we're getting rid of Jessica Jones, we're going to have Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Pepper Potts.
Yeah,
Jane Foster, Sif.
My wife finally sat down last weekend and I got her to watch the Iron Man movie. But she's like, what kind of name is that? Pepper Potts? I'm like, it's a comic name.
It's a nickname. Her name is actually Virginia.
Oh, I forgot about that. I should tell her.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's like, well, obviously these two are going to end up. I was like, yeah, but not in this movie. So we had fun watching it, and hopefully I will get her caught up to the Marvel universe as we know it by Cap 3. I do not have high hopes for Avengers 2 because it's just going to take a while for us. Because for every Marvel movie we sit down and watch, I have to sit down and watch something she wants. And the next thing are 2 episodes of Charmed, which I've never seen. So we'll just see
that's a fun. I really liked like the first 2 seasons of Charmed.
Yeah, and after she gets done with Charmed, she's going to go through Buffy, so that'll be cool.
Ooh, Buffy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, Kristen Stewart wants to be in a Marvel movie. Got it.
The thing is, I could actually see her as like a pretty decent X-23.
Oh, Kristen Stewart?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's the whole like emotionless thing. Or if she wants to...
Is she young enough?
Well, she still looks kind of young.
Yeah, okay.
And the thing is that, like, they always cast people in their, like, early to mid-20s to play teenagers anyway.
Yeah, true. Okay, moving on. Agent Carter has finished filming, and I see you've put season 1, but it's just the event.
People keep saying season 1. On Twitter, every time I see it, they would be like, and that's a wrap on Agent Carter season 1.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll get more of it.
I would love if we get more of it.
You know, I would say it's getting better ratings than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but if you take a look at when Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. debuted, they were in the 12, and Agent Carter was in 6. So I kind of have, in terms of ratings, Live Plus same day, I like Agent Carter is getting more play, but I don't know if it's better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. yet. What
I would love to see is if, like, next year at the same time as, like, this right now, like, we're having the episodes and then a break, if in the interim we have, like, the early adventures of New S.H.I.E.L.D. and we see, like, her plus the Howling Commandos going out and doing stuff. Or S.H.I.E.L.D. in the early 50s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would love that sort of thing.
Yeah. As I said before, would love a 60s-based comic book show. It would be great. And for those that have told me that Gotham isn't. Gotham is definitely not 60s. It tries to pull off a 60s vibe, but the tech in it is way beyond 60s. Okay, the next one, I love it. I love it to death,
Yes.
actually. And it's actually what a couple of our listeners wanted to come into the chat and talk about all night long. And I almost thought about leading off with this.
I love both of these jerks, and I follow them both on Twitter, so this is like my favorite story.
Yeah, it was great. Okay, so for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, in America, we have this big event every year. It's the biggest sporting event. I think it's still the biggest sporting event. I think it's bigger than the Daytona 500, and I think it's bigger than anything else. Anyway, it is the Super Bowl. It is American football's championship, and it's always in late January, early February.
And the commercials are, people compete to have like the best commercials, and they pay so much money for the commercials. People watch just for the commercials.
The commercials are great. Matter of fact, there was one commercial that's only going to, it's so racy. They're only showing it on the West Coast. I'm like, really? You can't show it on the East Coast too? Like, yeah, I will definitely
I didn't hear about
be YouTubing. Yeah, I'll have to look that up later.
If it's not just like a close-up of a butt on the TV, I'm calling BS.
It's some sort of sexy, like, Wendy's burger commercial or something. I don't even know what burger chain it is, but it's...
Okay, if it's not like cake farts with a burger, I'm calling BS. Please don't look up cake farts.
Operator, please, don't send us any links about cake farts.
Yeah, don't send it. I've already seen it.
Okay, so anyway, Chris Pratt is a huge Seattle Seahawks fan, which is one of the teams in the Super Bowl. And he plays Star-Lord, for those of you that don't know, in Guardians of the Galaxy. And Chris Evans is a mega Patriots fan, which is the
New
other
England
team
Patriots.
in the Super... What's that?
The New England Patriots.
Yeah, okay, if we want to say the whole name. Is the New
Well, you said Seattle
Patriots
Seahawks.
fan. And about half the country or more hates the Patriots. But,
yes.
Okay. And then it doesn't matter what your team is, you're rooting for the Seahawks if you're not a Patriots fan. Or if you're a Patriots fan, you're rooting for them. Anyway, so they got into a Twitter...
Basically, it kind of depends on whether or not you like, what's his name? Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Everyone like either loves or hates Tom Brady.
There's more issues with that, which we'll get in later. Anyway, so these two get in this Twitter war of, hey, my team's going to beat your team. And they're like, okay, you want to put something on it. And this is so cool. I don't know if this was a PR stunt done by these guys or not, but what they came up with was, I don't care if it's PR stunt or not. It was cool. They said they bet that if their team...
Okay, let's just read the tweet. Okay, which one do you want to be, Chris Evans or Chris Pratt?
I'm a big...
Let's try and read him in character.
I'm a big Captain America fan, but I got to go with Pratt on this because I like him. I like Chris Pratt better than Chris Evans.
Okay, I'm going to try to read Chris Evans, but I think I'm going to read him as Lucas Lee from Scott Pilgrim.
I do a good Captain America.
Okay.
I'll do it. Okay, so it starts off with Chris Evans, right? So his tweet is, well, Pratt. It looks like our teams are going into battle. For the next 2 weeks, you are not my friend. You are my enemy.
At Chris Evans. We both know there's only one Captain America, and his name is Russell Williams. Hashtag Super Bowl bound. Hashtag LOB. Hashtag repeat. Maybe it was lob. I don't really know.
At Pratt. Them's fighting words. Stakes. Hashtag what is a Seahawk anyway? Hashtag something Tom Brady hunts.
Well, a bet was not immediately made. Plenty of people chimed in, and then a lot of people talk. A lot of people keep posting pictures, including one of Star-Lord in Seahawks jersey.
Right.
Lots of pictures. These are so cute. The dance battle, pretty great. Dance battle idea. Okay, yeah, hold on. Oh, hey, this is news.
Share.
Okay, according to Bryan Singer's Twitter account, Sophie Turner is going to be playing young Jean Grey in X-Men Apocalypse.
Woohoo!
So Sansa Stark's going to be young Jean Grey. And at Alex Ship with 4 P's is going to be young Storm. And at Ty2IE Sheridan is going to be Cyclops. So I'm going to have to look up these other actors to see what else they're in. But yeah, they look okay. I guess they look the part. Hey, Sophie Turner. Yeah, awesome. So that's news.
Breaking news on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., which will be posted sometime in a couple of days.
Yay, Sophie Turner! Go, Sansa! Good things are finally happening. All right, so we were at...
I said hashtag something Tom Brady hunts.
At Chris Evans. Okay, Seahawks win. You fly yourself to Seattle. Visit at Seattle Children's Hospital as Captain America, waving the 12th man flag, which is, by the way, Texas A&M did it first, and there was a court case about that a few years ago. I'm an Aggie, so.
At Pratt. I accept. And when the Patriots humiliate your sea chickens, I expect Star-Lord to arrive at Chris_Haven in a Brady jersey.
At Chris Evans. Humiliate my Seahawks? Maybe talk to Brady about deflating your expectations. Boom! Legion of. You're on, sucker.
And now we have it. It was awesome. These guys making bets for charity and in costume. I have no doubts that they will both actually show up both places in costume.
They are adorable.
This is going to be great. And
these adorable, occasionally shirtless jerks.
The question I have is, which costume do you think Chris Evans is going to show up in? Because he's had like 5 of them now. Is it going to be the Age of Ultron uniform? Is it going to be the Winter Soldier uniform? Is it going to be the World War II post I'm actually part of the team? Or is it going to be, leather jacket Chris Evans? Or is it going to be stage costume Chris Evans? So that's my question.
My guess is whichever one squeezes his ears the less, because apparently that is a problem for him.
There you go. All right. So that is awesome. That made my week, by the way, especially when you talk about Tom Brady and the ball deflation thing, which will have evolved, I'm sure, after this podcast is recorded and set out. But hey, if I understand the competitive edge, but come on, it's a fun game that people actually bet on. So stop it. All right. Moving on to the next news story. Oscar Isaac talks apocalypse costume.
Yes. So Oscar Isaacs, who we've previously talked about on this show, previously talked about as having been cast as Apocalypse, was talking about his costume as Apocalypse. And Latino Review has an interview with him, and it mentions how, the Michael Shannon Zod in Man of Steel looks so impressive on screen, and then you see him walking around in the mocap pajamas, and it's not really that cool. And he's talking about how his En Sabanor Apocalypse costume is going to be a mix of practical and digital. He hasn't seen the script yet. And we'll be able to see how they turn him, who's 5'9", into Apocalypse, supposed to be like 10 feet tall. So we'll see. Could be cool.
Yeah.
Could be a mess. Yeah. We'll find out.
We'll find out.
And we'll see him and Sansa on the screen. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm very happy.
Well, talking about something that's not so awesome, Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are not returning for more X-Men.
Yeah, this makes me sad.
It does.
Yahoo.com has an interview with Patrick Stewart, and he was asked point blank as to whether he'd be an X-Men Apocalypse, and Patrick Stewart said, nope, nor Sir Ian McKellen either. I was learning quite a lot more about it last night, and it's going to be looking very much at the earlier lives of our characters, and so I don't think we'll be making an appearance. So, yeah, probably not.
Yeah, even if it's a cameo at the end, I would still like to see it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd love a cameo at least.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Do the Stan Lee thing. Okay, so Fantastic Four is not a mess, you guys.
I'll believe that when I see it. I think that's for us to call.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's an update on the Latino Review that Lauren posted that basically says, yeah, it's not going to be that bad. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's Simon Kinberg. He's talking about how the fact that Fantastic Four has gone back to do a couple of days of additional photography.
Yeah. And as I'm learning more and more about filmography, this is just normal stuff. It happens. You have to go back and reshoot stuff to make the story fit. The story gets edited along the way, and you just want different things sometimes, or you want stuff that didn't turn out great in the audio or visual for whatever reason. If you have lens flares when you don't want them or whatever, you just have to do a research.
Or you don't have enough lens flares when you do want them. J.J. Abrams.
I noticed, I was watching Person of Interest, right, which is a J.J. Abrams executive produced show on CBS. And so he probably has nothing to do with the actual day-to-day shooting or whatever. But I noticed this past week that there was a lens flare, and I was like, it is. This is a J.J. Abrams show.
But yeah, he had to clarify because there was rumors that it was going back to film for weeks because the movie is a mess. And it might still be a mess, But apparently that is not the reason why it is doing a couple of pickup shots.
At least that's what he's saying. So.
At least that's what they're saying.
Okay, so our friend Jay from Galford Public Radio and Sterling Tribune sent me a link earlier this week, and I think they talked about it on the Gonna Geek podcast. Basically, that the Avengers Age of Ultron was spoiled and leaked a little bit by the Marvel's Lego Superheroes box set. Now, I actually read this story, and it goes maybe a smidge farther than we've seen in the trailers, but I don't think it's really spoiled all that much. But it does give you a little extra insight.
Yeah, I'm skimming it right now, and it's not like...
It gives you more... You see a little bit more definition of the scenes that are in the trailer, basically. And there's a little bit about two characters that you might not have picked up. If you knew the comic history, you would have no doubts that that was going to happen in the movie. But as far as the actual spoiling anything for me, it didn't. So it was just more information about it. But Jay brought it up on Gonna Geek as this is an example of toy makers trying to make money and spoiling stuff before the film comes out.
Look at it this way. It's not nearly so gratuitous as the noble death of Qui-Gon Jinn. You remember that?
No, I didn't.
You remember that? Okay, like a month before episode 1 came out, the soundtrack came out, and I had to have it because I needed to have everything Star Wars the second it came out. So I picked up the soundtrack, and people were throwing a fit because there was this one track called The Noble Death of Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh, I could see that.
And everyone was enraged, and I'm like, the guy's not a character in the original trilogy. What did you think was going to happen?
Marvel did such a great job around Captain America the Winter Soldier that they did release the soundtrack before the movie came out with a fake title in there that was meant to be a fake spoiler.
I remember that happened with the novelization of X-Men 2. It had a fake ending.
So who knows if some of this stuff is actually spoilers or not from the Lego, but okay, yeah, people are just going to buy this stuff and it's just going to be out there. And some of the stuff you're going to be able to avoid and some of the stuff you're not. So you just got to live with it. It's entertainment, folks. Get over it. And our last news story for the week, Lauren has put in there Age of Ultron Pop Funko figures.
They're adorable. Okay, we have Iron Man blasting off. It's the Mark 43 outfit, and it is adorable. And I'm going to get this for my husband and put it on his desk whether he likes it or not. Oh. He just yelled no from the other room.
I heard that. Did you guys? I hope you guys in the audience heard that. I'll try to bring it up in edit to make sure you actually hear it. But there's a great Captain America. I think I'm going to get that. I've wanted a Captain America for a while.
My Bucky needs a cap. There's an angry Hulk.
Vision. Ooh.
Yeah. There's Thor with fabulous hair. There's Hawkeye with a jacket. It looks spiffy. There's Vision, who I'm really intrigued by this color scheme.
Yeah, it's purple and gray.
Yeah, it's like fuchsia and gray.
With blue eyes.
With blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And in the comics, if you're familiar with it, Vision is like this weird, garish, like red, green, silver, gold, just kind of painted a wall and saw what sticks color.
I could see them wanting to change because if you're going to go with red, that would clash with Iron Man. If you were going to go with green, that would clash with Hulk. So I could see him wanting to stick with this different. And
I really do dig this coloration. I can't wait to see what it looks like, on screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Ultron, who looks cool.
Right.
And then there's the mystery minis, who are tiny and cute.
This is awesome.
There's a little like Black Widow and Nick Fury, not looking like a hobo, incidentally.
Mm-hmm.
Hulkbuster armor. There's blue armor. Is that War Machine? If it is, it doesn't have the Iron Patriot armor anymore. And some keychains and plushies.
Yeah.
Those are cool.
Yeah, it's all cool. I think Richard also posted a like story in the chat as well. So thank you very much for that, for the heads up, Richard. If you guys want to send us news stories throughout the week, please don't hesitate to email me at stargatepioneer@gonnageek.com, or I believe Lauren's at lauren@gonnageek.com. Haley is haley@gonnageek.com. We would love to hear from you so we can throw some stuff in there. So that's all I've got for the news. Lauren, you good?
That's all I've got.
Alrighty. All right. Getting to your feedback this week. We have a Twitter from Neil Isn't Twitty. Yes, Neil, I know. It's so cool saying your name like that. So anyway, Neil shows up and he says, hey, rhubarb, it's a tart celery-like stem vegetable. Great in strawberry pie. Rutabaga, turnip-like tuber. So yes, Neil, I was wrong.
What the hell is a rutabaga? You people are making things up now.
Oh, no. What I was saying a rhubarb was last week, it was what a rutabaga actually is.
What is that?
What's it? Well, look at the picture.
Other than apparently a turnip-like Oh, I have to Google this thing.
I have to Google a rutabaga. Rutabagas. That's awesome.
What the hell is that?
It's a root vegetable.
It looks like a turnip. Oh, it's a neep. That's what a neep is.
There you go.
Okay, anybody who has ever, in A Dance with Dragons, they keep mentioning this thing called neeps. And I was like, what is this? Is this like a potato?
Potato.
And I had to look it up and it's like, oh, it's an old-timey name for like root vegetables. Apparently, this is a neep.
It's a neep. It's like a Jeep. Neep. All right.
Neep.
So thank you very much for that tweet, Neil, and clarifying that. I feel shamed because I should know what a rhubarb and a rutabaga is.
I don't feel ashamed because I have never heard of any of these things except on TV.
Well, when you grow up on a farm with the farmhouse has a 3-acre garden next door to it, you should know what some of this stuff is.
Yeah, I grew up near a ranch. I know cows.
Oh. All right. We have a voicemail this week. You ready to listen to it?
I am ready.
Hey, agents, this is Adam calling in with a review of issue 2 of the new S.H.I.E.L.D. comic. In this one, we learn a bit more about Simmons, because in this universe, her father is an executive at Roxxon Oil who thinks she works as a party planner in New York, which is, a really bad cover. However, her cover on the mission she's on for the majority of this mission as a substitute teacher fits, though it certainly doesn't last long as some supervillain technology at the school gets activated and she gets saved by the new Miss Marvel. We find out that there's basically a black market in supervillain technology that goes through that school, and it's up to Coulson, Simmons, and Miss Marvel to deal with some of the technology that's gotten activated. So, she actually out superhero geeks Coulson at one point, and Coulson, in exchange, teaches her a new way to use her shape-shifting powers. It's a very fun issue, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Lauren, have you had a chance to read this yet?
I have not. I'm waiting for either the collected edition or a price drop at Comixology.
Yeah. Okay. A couple of things. First of all, I have been reading these through Comixology, and it's my first time that I've exclusively used Comixology for anything and using my iPhone 6 Plus. And I can't remember if I talked about this on this cast before or not, but I am loving it. The size of the 6 Plus are good enough so that the Comixology app, as it goes through the panes, it looks good. And I really enjoy reading the comics that way. And for those of you that don't know, it's not the entire comic page. They actually take you panel by panel through the page.
No, the Comixology to mobile adaptation is pretty good. I remember I tried it way back when I think they first started the app, and it wasn't really that good. But no, lately it's been pretty great.
And I do feel a little bit taken by the price because the first one was $4.99 and the second one was $3.99. I think that's a little bit much for a comic, but I did enjoy it, reading it. And if you haven't read it, Lauren, at the very end, there is a little snippet of Fitz and the monkey in both of them so far. So it takes you through a little bit of that. So it's really fun at the end. All right. That's it for the feedback for the week, unless you have something else, Lauren?
Nope.
Okay. So thank you very much for joining us. Next week, we will definitely get back into Agent Carter. I think this will be our last week off in a very long time from scheduled Marvel content. Agent Carter episode 4, the Blitzkrieg button. We have contact information all over the place. Our website, legendsofshield.com. We talked about the first 13 podcasts being put up there for you to listen. The voicemail line, 844-THE-BUS-1 or 844-843-2871. And I will say, if you are listening to this podcast and you're delayed a week or two because you're waiting for the Hulu to come out like 8 days later of the episode or whatever, go ahead. We're good talking about stuff that happened 2 or 3 weeks ago. Right, Lauren?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so go ahead. Do that. We're fine. We realize that not all of you get to watch the stuff as it's happening. And we realize some of you wait until it's on Netflix or whatever and then stream through it and then want to get our take of it as it's going on. So go ahead. We'll talk about stuff first season or whatever. Give us a voicemail. Contact us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, the forums. Go ahead and do that. So thank you very much for Adam and Richard and everybody else, Willie, that joined us on the chat. We really appreciate talking to you.
We always appreciate hearing from you, and in any form, whether it's on our live chat, whether it's on Twitter, Neil, thank you for that. Whether it's our voicemail, Adam, thank you for that. If you want to get a hold of us and let us know your Science of Marvel questions, we have a couple of different kinds of, if not experts, then certainly learned individuals. If you want to get hold of us about how awesome Peggy Carter is, if you watched Elektra or Howard the Duck or any of the other things that we have suggested and want to give us your opinion on them, yeah, you get a hold of us and let us know.
Yeah, we look forward to hearing from you guys, and we'll be back next week. Haley will be back here. Hopefully she has a voice, and I believe Wing will be back too. So we look forward to seeing you guys next time, and until then, I'm Agent Stargate Pioneer.
And I'm Agent Lauren.
Bye.
Later.
Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you'll find all of our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod and can be found at incompetech.com. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual host and do not represent Legends, Stream, or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation. No infringement is intended.